Okay, Doctor. So the floor is yours for the next 10 minutes for your presentation. Okay, so you can start.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings. So our title is the influence of perception and text knowledge on non-compliance in indirect text among public university students. The context is in Selangor and Lembah Kelang. Okay, my name is Muhammad Syarif Ishaq from UiTM Puncak Alam. Okay, as for the background, there are non-compliant cases which become very critical issues faced by the Royal Malaysian Customs Departments in their reports in 2017. In that reports stated that Bill of Demand or BOD amounted to 3.98 billion. It is being issued by the Customs Department towards the defaulted payment from the importers. So how from that amount, can you imagine the big amount like that? So what can be done from that? So our paper is to study the impact of perception of tax fairness and tax knowledge on non-compliance behavior among public university students. Now, our objectives, the main objectives are to examine the impact of perception of tax fairness and tax knowledge on non-compliant behavior among public university students, especially in Selangor and Klang Valley. So there are two types of tax, which is direct tax and indirect tax. So direct tax is such as personal income tax, corporate tax. Now our focus is more on the indirect tax, for example, sales tax, import duty tax, goods services tax. So among them are the sales tax and import duty. So we are studying on the non-compliant intention related to the knowledge perception. Now, from the literature reviews, in Malaysia, research on the indirect tax on the non-compliant is limited. So, based on Yusof, Ling and Wah, saying that the prime factors for non-compliance are the high tax rates. Number two, the probability of detection. Next, complexity of the laws. And next, the methods employed to collect taxes. And most of the studies focusing on the economic factors. So ours is studying on non-economic factors. So as mentioned by Nicoletta, the next study should focus rather on attention on the education. By Nur Fikria and Sri Wahyu on the perception of the practice, by Palin et al. On the perception of taxpayers on tax knowledge and tax education, and by Sinasamy on the tax fairness. So these are the hypotheses development. So hypothesis one, we are studying, is there a direct relationship between perception of tax fairness and indirect tax? And hypothesis two, is there a relationship between perception of tax fairness and tax knowledge? And hypothesis three, is tax knowledge mediates or intervene the relationship between perception and the tax of tax fairness on and indirect tax on non-compliance behavior. So our methodology, we are using the quantitative methods. The population comes from the Ministry of Higher Education in 2021. By that time, students, public universities in Selangor and Klang Valley are 62,259. So we are taking the second methods of sampling respondents, which 285 is sufficient or enough to represent the population. So the participants must have experience on indirect tax and paying tax on the online platform, such as through Shopee or Lazada. When they are buying things, they have to pay that taxes and imported. Some of the things are imported, so they have to pay taxes on that. And then we are measuring studying or measuring the level of perception of these taxpayers, which are the students. Now, these are the findings. The demography, universities come from the UPM, UITM, UTM, and UKM. And among the programs taken of the students are among the PhD or master students, bachelor degree, and diploma. So the results based on the hypothesis, H2 and H3 got a very strong influence. All hypotheses were accepted. But we can see at the beta value, whereby which one have highest influence is H2, which is 0.79. Okay, and then followed by H3. H1 got influence, direct influence. Somehow the beta value is quite low, so the result is just accepted. It is just an influence rather than strong influence in H2 and H3. So these are the results. We are using the WoS-PLS, okay, in terms of getting the results. So the R-square is 0.63, which means that the influence or impact is big or huge. Okay, and then as for the conclusion number one, okay, we could say that good perception on the tax collectors should have, when tax collectors such as customs, Inland Revenue Board, good image will increase the compliance behavior. And then number two, we should have a good approach to educate the student to become more responsible or good netizens that pay taxes. And conclusion number three, we need tax authorities such as Custom, RCMD, IRB, need to create awareness due to the harms of tax non-compliance will affect society. Okay, so we don't want to become like certain countries due to the bad usage of taxpayers' money. So we need to have focus on that, okay, towards educating our students and many more. Okay, I rest my case there. Is there any questions? I'm adding some more on the limitation. We are focusing more on the public universities only due to the data that we have, and then the time stretching to deadline. So we are focusing on the public universities rather than private universities. And then we are only focusing on Malaysian universities instead of other parts, such as Asia, or any other continents, to make comparison between the results. So that's our limitation at the time. Okay, I rest my case there. Thank you very much for listening. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Cheryl. Okay, keeping within time. Okay, open to questions. Especially people in finance taxation. Any question? No question. Dr. Cheryl, that's the case. My question is like related to your whole research here. What is it like the main problem statement that compare all of you like? Yes, to do this one here, which is
the main problem are the issues highlighted by the custom departments, and every year we heard about, tax evasion, tax avoidance. So that's our main priority.
That one is clear, but when you want to do this one, it's interesting, like says the impact of perception of tax fairness. Mm-hmm. So does that means that the public feel that the tax imposed to them is not fair?
Yes, some of them believe in that way. So
that's the reason they don't want to pay the tax.
But not many studies have been done about the perception rather than focusing on economic factors. So we are doing the non-economic factors which involve the behavior, the perception. So we are trying to find out what are the students' perceptions on, is it our Malaysian government being fair to them and make fully utilize of the taxpayers' money. So we don't want to become, certain companies collect topple because of what they have done with the taxpayers' money. We have cases like nowadays, it's very hot topic. So is that how our money is being spent? So we can relate that to the other countries that have same problems.
So your finding towards the end is that if the field that the tax is fair, that it will be fairly spent for the public goods, then they are likely to pay the tax.
Students, public will willingly to pay the taxes well, because certain countries their tax charges are very high, 40% in the Euro countries. We see that they give back to the citizens in terms of 40%, in terms of hospitality, education. Those are for free. So we want that developed countries' experience to be implemented in Malaysia also. So, so roadways, these facilities and others.
So this is related to their perception.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no question from here, face to face, and I open to those online. If you have a question.
Good evening, sir. I'm from Sri Lanka. I'm from Sri Lanka. I just want to raise a small question. Actually, in your research, how you collect data? You use questionnaire. Is that?
Yes. We are using the Google Forms, and then we distribute it to our counterparts from other public universities, and then they reply by answering the Google Forms. And then we extract the data from there. Our questionnaires were replicated from other authors, and then we tally that to our focus on the objective of our studies, which focusing on the students' perceptions.
Okay.
All right. Does that answering your question, Mr. Michel?
No, not it. I just want to ask whether you use a questionnaire. Then you use Likert scale. Then how you measure the values? Are you take the mean values or you take the totals? It means you measured as if you use Likert scale, then you have to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, up to 7. Then do you take the mean values or did you take the summations of the values, the questionnaire values?
I cannot get.
Actually, what I want to ask is, for your independent variables, you should ask some questions, not only one question. You have to ask several questions. Then, do you take the mean values of the questions or the responses?
Okay. Among the question is about fairness. Do you think that this tax imposed on the sales tax is fair to you, for you to pay that? Do you think that this tax money being spent well by the government?
So those are you raise some questions, then you collect data, and how you get the values for each variable. My question is that how you get the values for independent variables, independent variables. Did you take the average of the questions, or you take the summations, rank summations?
Summation. We are using the Likert scales questions. So based on what the value that we get, and then we sum it into. So using the what PLS, the results will be.
Yes, you definitely had to use Smart PLS. That's why I just want to ask. And in your analysis also, you should have the median effect. Median effect you have to calculate. Otherwise, there will be a problem because you use knowledge as the mediator. then you have to do the mediating effect analysis also. So that's what I want to actually ask. Yes. Have you done the mediating effect, or you just do the regressions only? Mediating effect, have you do the mediating effect, or you just do the regressions? It means how perception influence to the tax compliance and all.
I'm not so sure if I'm answering your question.
Okay, I just raised question because that will improve my knowledge also. Through questions, others can comment on that, then we can learn. That's why I just asked.
Okay, right, truly. So maybe you may contact us to discuss about the things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Dr. Sharif, for your presentation. So I think it's kind of good conclusion that if they have a good perception, then they are willing to pay tax. Okay, thank you. Okay, Dr. Jana Nasution Radwan, Senior Lecturer, Consultant Psychiatrist, Faculty of Medicine, UITM, Hospital Sultan Abdullah, UITM. And your paper is Resilience and Psychological Distress Among UITM Medical Students, Transitional Gap.
Adaptation, adjustment, and also higher expectations. Yeah. So these adaptations lead to high stress level in clinical year students, and there will be new dynamics in the team, and sometimes it can lead to challenging encounters with other staff, with other students, with lecturers, and dealing with complex patients and also death. So this can be contributing factors to why this experience is challenging. And there will be also new learning environment, burdened with the workload and insufficient study time, because they will start to have on-calls, night duties, and household scheduling. It can cause a rise in psychological distress. Okay, before we look into what is psychological distress, we need to understand what is the normal mental health. So a normal mental health is a state of well-being in which person realizes their abilities and able to cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively, and can make contribution in their own community. While on the other hand, depression is a persistent state of sadness, loss of interest or pleasure, feeling of guilt or low self-worth, sleep disturbances, feeling of tiredness, lethargy, and poor concentration. On the other hand, anxiety is a feeling of uneasiness, restlessness, stress as tension in the body and mind caused by physical, emotional, or mental factors. And we use DAS-21 as our instrument. It is a 21 items field used as a screening tool. It is validated for Malaysian population to determine depression, anxiety, and stress. On the other hand, resilience. What is resilience? It is actually an ability to enable one to adopt and cope with adversity in life. So it can affect a person's psychological distress and emotional well-being, the presence of resilience itself. So moving on to methodology, the study population was, as mentioned earlier, among the third year UITM medical students, after ethical approval was obtained from the UITM Research Committee, a cross-sectional study was conducted, and it was through the Google form, through email linked electronic survey was sent to 227 medical students, third year medical students specifically, and we received 166 response. And in the Google form, on top of consent and patient information sheet, we had CD risk, which is to measure the resilience, DAS-21, and the social demographic profile. So it was done for a month, and it was voluntary and anonymous. However, we collected email addresses as we were supposed to contact those who may responded in a high-risk values, especially in depression or perhaps maybe suicidal. So moving on to discussion, we noted that our resilience mean was comparable to other developing countries because in CD risk we only see the mean of it, and we compare to what has done before. In Malaysia, we found it to be 26.6. In Sri Lanka, it was found to be 26.3, and in China, it was 24, while in the United States, it was higher, it was 32.1. We found that with higher resilience, there was lower psychological distress, which was expected. And looking into the gender factor in resilience, our study was similar to other developing countries in Brazil and India, and where female and male was comparable, but in Canada and Finland, male had higher resilience compared to female students. Our psychological distress was quite high when it comes to depression, where 38% of the respondents had depression, higher compared to Brazil and Pakistan. Stress was 70.5%, higher compared to local study, Brazil and Pakistan. And this is for comparable with students from other faculties and not just medical faculties. And also 31.9% of anxiety, lower compared to other local studies, Brazil and Pakistan. So in conclusion, our study found that male medical students possess better resilience than females. Medical students experience high levels of depression, anxiety, and particularly greater stress symptoms. And higher level of resilience was significantly associated with lower level of psychological distress. So that's all for my presentation today. I welcome questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Najana. Okay, I'll open to the floor. If there's any questions? Those online? If no question, my question is basically you are doing, I think looking at your results just now, resilience, okay, and psychological stress. Okay, the stress depression, I think that was straightforward. But what are the variables you use to measure resilience? Can you explain that?
So the one that I use is actually a questionnaire. It is 10 questions. It's by Connor Davidson. It's from the USA. It actually has 3 versions where they have 5 questions, 10 questions, and 25 questions. But the one with 10 questions is validated for Malaysian population. And actually all these 5 questions look into how the respondent adjusts to challenges, goes through challenges, and bounce back from challenges. So these are the criteria that was included within all that 10 questions, and it will come out as a LIFEX.
Example of the question of variables?
I find it, example, I don't have it now, I'm sorry. But one of the questions is like, I find it difficult to bounce back after I face challenges in life. That's one of the questions. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And basically, so when you compare with other countries, that's quite interesting. So you found that our medical students, they are more resilient compared.
We found that our medical students were somewhat at par with other developing countries, but
Okay.
it was actually.
But it's much lower than the US, right?
Yeah, it's quite far below than developed countries. And again, I just wanted to mention that this was done before COVID. So I would expect that now, if it's done after COVID, I think it's even, the psychological I think could be higher and the resilience could be lower actually, because the online learning had quite significant effect on our students.
So like the US is 32 for the resilience.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
it's actually high.
Okay. Okay. I think somebody wants to ask a question online. So anyway, so look at this one here. Like China is lower.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Sri Lanka. I think Sri Lanka, or is it India? Is India? It's about the same. Why is it that the developed countries have higher resilience? Is it?
Well, I think offhand, I could say that majority of their medical students are usually they are actually second degree students, so they are, in terms of age, they are more mature. Our students are usually quite fresh because they are in first degree. Yeah, that could be one of the reason I think.
Because over there in the US, it's a postgraduate.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. That's right.
Okay.
Postgraduate.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Najana. Okay, thank you very much. Good presentation. Professor Gunam, call CG. Okay, Professor. Okay, and your title is Developing Postgraduate Students Learner Autonomy Through PAH Continuum. Okay, and Professor is from Segi University. Okay, Prof. So you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, and I am Gurnam, and we are discussing here one of the objectives of our FRGS project that looked into developing postgraduate students' learner autonomy through the path continuum. As you are all aware, that before the age of information, now access to education was only available to a select few scholars who often sat high up in the ivory towers. Now, at the dawn of the 21st century, we all embraced the age of information. And this brought about change in the whole world, including in all facets of life, including the learning environment. Information and access to education now became available to every man in the street from every corner of the world. And this led to very flexible learning solutions, resulting in the democratization and the massification of education at all levels, including higher education. With the twin forces of globalization and internationalization, today, education is a commodity to be traded, invested. Entrepreneurs now enter and run universities. And this consequently led to the exponential growth of students at all levels, particularly at postgraduate students. And this slowly and surely brought about the cracks in the ivory tower. And today, education, some say, is in a moral mess. Ask any postgraduate supervisor, and you will hear him or her lamenting on the deteriorating standards of postgraduate scholars today. I'm sure you all are aware as educationists, to do a postgraduate study, you need to have critical reading skills, to see through volumes of literature, advanced writing skills, to put forward your thoughts effectively. You need to have a solid background in research methodology, not forgetting the 21st century of digital skills, cooperation, collaboration, innovation, okay, and creativity. And to be able to be an effective postgraduate student, you need to be autonomous, taking ownership, responsibility for your learning, and that is what learner autonomy is all about. And we often wonder as postgraduate supervisors, what did you do in school? What did you do in undergraduate? And we ask ourselves, what was the ultimate aim of all education? In my book, the answer lies in equipping our students with knowledge, skills, values that will make them responsible enough to take ownership, to have the ability, the capability, the willingness to take control of their own learning. But what is the reality, ladies and gentlemen? The reality is governments all around the world know that education is a very good investment. And in Malaysia, we spend between 10, 15, and 20% sometimes on education. Yet the returns are far from satisfactory. In Malaysia, 1 out of every 5 students fail and drop out from postgraduate study. At the global level, 60% fail to graduate on time, and attrition rates are rising by the year. Enough studies that I've cited all here that have shown the deteriorating standards of postgraduate standards. Scholars have identified numerous factors, and one of the main factors is they lack the basic competency to do the study on their own. Besides that, there are personal factors, financial problems, institutional problems, and of course supervision. To date, even though there are numerous studies, there is very scant empirical evidence to show how to solve the problem. So ladies and gentlemen, my team and I put forward the game changer known as the PAR continuum. Based PAR standing for the pedagogy, andragogy, and the pedagogy continuum. Based on the ADDIE model, and the theories underlining it, constructivism, adult learning, and connectivism, the age of information, alongside 21st century skills, cybergogy and paragogy, we put them to a 6-month instructional program where the first 2 months were based on the principles of pedagogy with explicit instruction on basic skills of reading, writing, research methodology, digital literacy. The second phase, we took them to andragogy, where it's negotiated learning. And the third phase was pedagogy, depending on the theory of positive psychology, becoming self-determined learners capable of taking responsibility for their own learning. And, though the research was an FRGS project, very large, I'm only going to share one subsection of one of the objectives. So what was the effect of this PAR continuum on the students' basic competencies with a focus on learner autonomy? The study was conducted in a private university located in the Klang Valley. The research design was a quasi experimental study with a mixed method approach involving 50 intake group of postgraduate students that were doing PhD. And data was collected through a 3-pronged approach: pre and post tests, a questionnaire, and focus group interviews, 5 focus groups involving close to 23 students. The instruments were validated by a panel of experts, and reliability was established through a series of pilot tests. Data analysis and data collection kept to strict adherence to ethics in research. And ladies and gentlemen, the crucial part, the findings. Well, the findings from what you can see here, from the pre and post tests, there was a significant difference, in all their reading skills after 6 months, all their research methodology skills, significant difference. And even though there was a mean score of increase in writing skills, it was not a significant difference, and this is quite similar to many studies. Writing, you and I know, cannot be developed in 6 months. It's a process. You have to go through it. But they did show improvement. And the qualitative findings in the focus group, majority of the students highlighted the many benefits that enhanced their reading skills. As you have responded to from focus group 4, who highlighted that she's now able to skip and scan journal articles fast. When we first started, they didn't even know how to look for keywords. And respondent 5 said she has really confident in her research skills. And look at the last word. She said, I think I can now work on my own. Now that was interesting. And with regards to learner autonomy, you can see that taking responsibility for my own learning was a 4.56 mean score on a score of 5. And they also expressed confidence in setting goals, in planning, in organizing, in time management, but they admitted they fell short in monitoring and evaluating their learning. This is not surprising because many studies like Tang and Sinclair has also shown that aspects of monitoring and evaluation is something that the students have to go through a longer process to be able to do that. Nonetheless, majority of the qualitative studies, qualitative data showed that the students expressed great confidence in developing learner autonomy. And of course, there were some students who felt that, like you see, respondent 4 in focus group 5 highlighted, yes, I know I'm responsible for my thesis, but I cannot say I can do this thesis on my own because I still need help from my head and my supervisor. But nonetheless, she admitted, I think, this is a very good program for me, and I think for PhD students. This is perhaps a sentiment of Asian students, the humility of not claiming that they can do without their sifu or their teacher. So, we understand that there were certain students who were actually doing well but did not admit, that they can do it without the supervisor. So this is also something similar to what findings have shown in past research. I think this, in my opinion, this is a very viable instructional framework because it adhered to many of the principles of autonomous learning. Example, Sabah et al. Highlighted that for success in learning, you need to have conducive research learning environment, and this is what we did. Because we had face-to-face, we had online discussions, we had cluster group tasks, and all this provided them with that conducive learning environment. Because if you cannot read it closely, student B says what she liked was the online discussions with the students about her research. Okay, that's what a respondent, student B2 from focus group B was saying. Okay, Fatudha and his colleague highlighted that for autonomous learning to be working, you need to have learning interruptions and discussions. And this is what we did in our study also, because we highlighted computer-mediated communication. All right? This was also one aspect in our training program. And further, Kalyan Wala and colleague highlighted that, okay, I like this part because there should be crucial movement of locus of control from instructor to students, leading to autonomous learning. And the PAR continuum, I think, encouraged that, because we have 2 months of the principles of pedagogy, moving to andragogy, and finally to andragogy. And Cohen et al. Okay, cautioned us that for autonomous learning to be successful, role ambiguity can be a barrier. In our study, we made sure that every time we made a task, we gave them a task, we had group leaders who were explicitly given their role and the duties that they had to carry out. So most of our findings, okay, have been positive, though no denying there were some students who found, okay, and highlighted that they had to struggle between the many assignments in the 6-month project while balancing to trying to do and go for their proposal defense or go for their viva. So time management was a challenge for them. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I feel, in my opinion, my team and feel there are implications in terms of theory. We were able to build a community of practice. In terms of practice, we could commercialize that training module. And in terms of policy, perhaps it is time for us to rethink into postgraduate entry requirements. Nonetheless, I would strongly recommend that all of us who are postgraduate supervisors should by now know that our students do not have an automatic transition from school to undergraduate and postgraduate. Time for us to put an instructional framework to work alongside 21st century so that we can see success for all our students. Finally, I'm sure the findings of this study cannot be generalized because this was a fundamental research project with a small sample size, a narrow scope, and you and I know that every instrument has its limitation, but in our study there was a lot of triangulation, and nonetheless the findings speak for itself. The students were able to achieve significant increase. Before I conclude, allow me to share this quotation that's very close to my heart and I relate to it really well. Teachers change because they see the light. We see some light sometimes when we do findings, or they feel the heat. I, for one, felt the heat. I have been supervising postgraduates for close to 2 decades, and I've seen a whole change of the kind of students I am getting. I felt the heat, and therefore I recommend the PAR continuum. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention. And I'll take questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Tegunan. A very interesting, lively presentation. And, okay, any questions from the floor? Or am I the only one asking questions this evening? Okay, yes, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask, your study, do you include IPTA as well? IPTA students as well, postgraduate IPTA from the public universities?
Yeah, ours was only in a private university.
Yeah, what's the reason?
The reason because, no, it was during COVID and because it was a small experimental study. So we couldn't involve too many students and COVID had set in. So initially we did attempt to do together with UITM, but then UITM students were not online, they had all gone back. Whereas our students were still, because to carry out that project, we needed face-to-face seminars and online seminars. And we had to give the test with them face-to-face. If not, they will go on the internet and check all the answers. So we had to have the students there. And then I checked, initially, of course, that is why I actually had two of my colleagues from, ex-colleagues from UITM. But then they said, no, Prof, I don't think we can because all our students are balik kampung.
But do you think the result will change if you do it with the public university as
Of
well?
course, I'm sure, because context-based things can, of course, differ, okay? This is, I mean, my finding, that's why I said the limitation is a small sample size. And the context is concerned, it's a private university, okay? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Yes, sir.
What about in terms of the difference that caused by foreign or local students?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Is there any impact between local and foreign students in this?
Is there a difference between local and international students?
Yes, I think there were some local and some international students. Of course, the local students actually in private universities, some of them were rather good. So they had, and that is why we did the mentoring. Okay, no need to go far. I have one student here from China, Miss Yin. Miss Yin, her mentor is Arif Shamida, who is a Malaysian student. So we also paired them up in the cluster. Arif has helped you a lot, yes? So they learned, we put in clusters. A language, one cluster, language studies, then we had ICT cluster for in education, then we had higher education management, because education we had about 5 clusters. So when they were doing online, we gave them tasks, we gave them YouTube. In fact, many of the students said they liked the YouTube clips that they were able to see and learn on their own. That is what we wanted them to do, self-learning. And they had reflective journals. In this study of mine, I'm not highlighting that because given to the constraints of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there another question? I would like to ask about this PAH continuum here. Can you explain?
The PAH continuum is not something new, okay? We have Larkin, Garnet, and Hesse in US. They are the ones who came up with the PAH continuum, but they did not use it as an instructional framework, okay? But in my case, I took that idea and I made it into an instructional framework, and I think it really worked wonders. Because we always assume our postgraduate students have good writing skills. And I think you and I know that one of the barriers for them they cannot complete on time is they have difficulty expressing themselves well in writing. And reading, actually, I discovered when I talked to my students, I said, you read 3 articles, so what? So I realized they couldn't read and synthesize, couldn't read and make inferences, couldn't read and draw conclusions.
So this PAH continuum is not, I mean, this is up to the individual supervisors to implement that. So it's not standard.
We implemented it. We took the initiative.
At SEGI.
At SEGI, we took it because we had, to tell you the exponential growth, when I first went to SEGI, I got 35 to 40 students. Now I have 836 students. So you look at the percentage of increase. And if I don't do anything, all my supervisors will be complaining. So we have decided to put that instructional framework, and it actually is really good. And we have been doing that after that. Because we have developed our 6-month training module, and the lecturers, I think, are really super. Because majority of them are our ex-colleagues from public universities, and even I sit in and listen, they're very good.
Can I have a question?
Yes, please.
In your study, did you actually ask the respondents, or the subject, their intention of pursuing up their PhD?
Yes.
And what was their response?
Okay, a majority of our students, actually those who are embarked on the PhD program, those international students have been funded by the university. And they were majority, doing education, majority of them are lecturers. Majority, close to 90%, more than 90% are lecturers. So, and you and I know, as a lecturer, they are going on their KPI and they need to have a PhD. So, I think their motivation level was also high, okay? We have a few administrators who will be doing educational management and leadership, but majority of us, of our students are all lecturers in higher education.
So, meaning that to a certain extent, they do that because they are forced to do.
No, I don't think. Because they know it's important to have a PhD. Some of them are on their own. My student here is self-sponsored. Some of them are sponsored. Some of them are self-sponsored. We also have winter and summer things so that the university gives them leave during summer and winter. So they come here January, February, July, August. because they have to fulfill the international requirement, 1 year residency. So within the 3 years, they can fulfill the one. So there are a number of different programs for them.
So in that case, there shouldn't be any problem with regard to what you explained.
Oh no, they can't read and
There
write.
shouldn't be any problem.
Yes, they have, because some of them, English, majority of them, I tell you on the whole, that is why we have to do. Remember my last quotation, teachers change when they feel the heat. We felt the heat, everyone was lamenting. What's happening? When we did PhD, no one helped me. My supervisor didn't teach me this. Today I have to teach them keyword search because they will say, Prof, I cannot find any article on this. So what do you do? Then I noticed that I have to make them sit beside me. Now I'm going to put the same word and you tell me how many articles I find. Then we realized that they had poor digital literacy. I have not discussed, actually I published one paper on digital literacy with software from UiTM. It was really interesting findings. Their score was really low at the pre-test.
Okay, Prof. Interesting discussion, but we have to stop with for the presenters. Excellent presentation. Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps we will call you to UiTM to give a talk on this. Much teacher.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Professor Dr. Guna. Okay, so we go for. Okay, Dr. Rashida is impact of technological advancements on environmental degradation, evidence from ASEAN. And you are from Faculty of Business Management, UiTM. Okay, so you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the introduction. Actually, I will be presenting together with the co-presenter, which is Mr. Vishen. He's here. Yeah. Vishen, can you thank so much, Mr. Vishen?
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like you to share your screen so then it's very easy for us. So you don't have to share the screen because if not, then the slide won't move. Okay, but I think everyone can see the slide, yeah? Is it okay, everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Rashida Osman. I am from Faculty of Business Management, UiTM, Selangor. And together with me, my co-presenter, which is Vishen Sampan Kiwage, Faculty of Management Studies, Sabah, University of Sri Lanka, and also Professor Dr. Jafar Payman from IPE and also from Faculty of Business Management. He is also here. Thank you, Prof. And also Dr. Rafi Komoditi from Kuliah of Economic Management, Science of International Islamic University, Malaysia. So we would like to present our research, which is impact of technological advancements on environmental degradation. So it is evident from ASEAN. Next slide. Okay. So the background of the study, technology has become a norm for everyone's life, and there is no time or place nowadays where technology does not play a role. So since the Industrial Revolution, technology has been catalyzing positive global growth. And however, there is also the negative impact of technology on the environmental that we cannot fail to consider. Technology has undoubtedly translated into a medium of destruction of environment through human exploitations, but the question of being done away with technology is still a subject not every environmentalist sees eye to eye. Okay, Vishen, can you go to the next slide? So for the problem statements here, technological development boosts productivity. Okay, for the problem statement, technological development boosts productivity in the industrial sector and leads economic development by reducing raw materials usage and improving the efficiency. So that is why we use the technology. But the high economic development through the industrial sector and non-monitored technology advancement generate many I call as environmental issues. And this figure, if you can see, it shows the inverted U-shaped relationship between economic growth and also measured pollution or environmental quality. Say that if there is at some point when the economic growth, when there are economic developments, they are high in terms of economic degradation at pre-industrial economics, and then when it reaches to the industrial economics, it is a peak, we call the economic development, and then when it increase, the environmental degradation will become low after industrial economy, or we call as a post-industrial economy. And the study has implemented the data. Can you go to the next slide? Okay. So I think the slide is very small in words, but it's okay. For the research part, we distribute to 3 parts, which is number 1, we try to look at the effect of economic growth and domestic saving on environmental degradation. Some scholars point out that the economic growth and domestic saving make a significant contribution to improving environmental quality. For example, study by Khan et al. 2021, Sabah et al. 2019, Sabah et al. 2019, and so on. Another school of thought argued that economic growth and domestic saving cause numerous problems in the ecological system. For example, study by Uzair 2022 and also ABRA et al. 2022. I'm mentioning it here. And number 2, we try to look at the technology advancements, the effect of technology advancements on environmental degradation. So one of the most important factors increasing environmental quality is technological advancement. According to the research conducted by Kong 2021, South et al. 2018, most of the technological development in industrial sector are focused only on improving productivity. And number 3, we look at the effect of urbanizations on environmental quality. And this is also a main, the control variable that we look at. Some scholars argue that increasing urbanization without a proper town plan leads to environmental issues. For example, lack of proper waste disposal, mechanism, increment in energy use, and also overpopulation in town areas create many social environmental issues. However, a study conducted by He and Zhang 2022 argued that if a country can have a proper ecological simulation in town development and plan, such nation can lead to achieving sustainable development goals while protecting environmental quality. So the next one is the methodology chapter. So the sample period for the study was 20 years, from 2000 to 2019, and covers 7 ASEAN countries, including Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. And here we show a model specifications which we cater from the literature review. And table 1 shows the key variable and proxy that we use to measure each variable. For example, here the greenhouse emissions is the dependent variable and proxied by the total greenhouse emissions, and followed by 4 independent variables, which are GDP growth, proxied by GDP per capita growth, domestic saving, proxied by growth domestic saving, urbanization, proxied by urban populations, and the last one is technological advancement, proxied by technology advancement index. And we gather the data and we use the payment data analysis to do the regressions. And the rest I will leave to my co-presenter, Mr. Risha Sampan. Can you continue?
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you very much for the audience for your attention. And I'm going to present the findings of our study. Basically, we did pool data analysis methodology we used, and here we used PMG, pool mean group, and mean group, as well as dynamic fixed effect models methods to do the analysis. After running all 3 analysis types, we did the Hausmann test to check which model is the best. Then with the Hausmann test results, we found that the pool mean group is much better than the other 2 models. Therefore, we use pool mean group as our final model. And there in pool mean group, we did the analysis for long run and short run. And if you move to the long run first, so you can see that the economic growth, domestic savings, population and technology advancements, basically all those 4 variables are significant. And the interesting thing is in economic growth, it's increased the greenhouse emission. It's like 0.03, and when economic growth increased by 1%, So the greenhouse emission will increase by 0.3 kilotons, equal to carbon dioxide. That's a huge amount. And also the domestic savings, it's decreased, because when the savings get increased, then it influences to reduce the carbon greenhouse emission or the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, because it gives money to do the research and development activities and found and check which technological advancement that we can do to reduce the greenhouse emission. And also when we move to the urban population, definitely it positively influence to increase the greenhouse emission, and technology advancements in interestingly that also reduce the carbon greenhouse emission, because when the technology advancements happen, then we move to use renewable energy and the energy sources that reduce, that emit carbon emission and all. Therefore, so that's the long run effect. Then we move to the short run effect. So speed of adjustment shows that here I want to mention that speed of adjustment, it should be to use this model, it should be less than 1, and also it should be minus, and all the preconditions are satisfied. Therefore we can use this model. And speed of adjustment, it says like 39% is the average. That means at least 2 years it will take to recover the changes happen in the environment or by these factors. Therefore, it's like more than 2 years it will take to recover the effect of these individual variables to the environmental degradation. Then when you move to the short run effect analysis, so interestingly, both domestic savings as well as technological advancements has a significant influence. And also the technology advancements here, it increases greenhouse emission, because in short run most of the countries they use industrial sector developments, because the economic growth happen as Dr. Norishida mentioned in the figure, in industrial development, so greenhouse emissions also get increased. Therefore, in short run, there is a positive influence by technology advancements to the greenhouse emission, but when we come to the long run, it works other way around. And also, when we come to the domestic savings, so it interestingly reduce the greenhouse emission, because in short run or long run, the effect of investment on development, research and development in influence to reduce the greenhouse emission. Therefore, that is our analysis results. Then we come to the discussion. So we can summarize that like this. So in long run, economic growth and urban population, they increase the greenhouse emission. And when you come to the domestic savings and technology advancements, it works to reduce the greenhouse emission in long run. When you come to the short run, it's little bit different, because in theoretical technology advancements and domestic savings significantly affect the environmental degradation, as we showed in analysis chapter. And also speed of adjustments, as I mentioned, it takes 2 years to recover the effect of individual variables to the environmental degradation. And also the domestic savings, as I mentioned, it works to reduce the greenhouse emission, dilute the greenhouse emission, because that we focus to focus for the research and development. Therefore, in short run, the domestic savings will work negatively to for the environmental degradation. Then we come to the conclusion. We can wrap up like this. So the all the explanatory variables, our independent variables, are significantly influenced to the greenhouse emission in long run, but in short run, the domestic savings and technology advancements are the only variables that influence to the environmental degradation. Interestingly, in short run, technology advancements increase the greenhouse emission, but domestic savings works other way around and reduce the greenhouse emission, because we focus on development, research and development, and then we move to the use of renewable energy and the eco-friendly production sources. Therefore, it reduces the greenhouse emission. And increasing domestic savings will also factor to increase the economic growth. That also will positively influence to increase the greenhouse emission. If we don't use the domestic savings for proper channels or proper projects, that also we have to consider. So those are the findings and those are the conclusion that we could get through this study. And in implementation, we can say that we should focus on much on policy making practices. So because we should focus to use our funds for environment friendly projects, and also we should focus to do the research and development for the renewable energy sources, and that will benefit for the country or the environment to reduce the greenhouse emission. If you say greenhouse emission, it's not like carbon dioxide. It's only not the carbon dioxide, but also it's include methane, nitrogen oxide, and ozone also that includes. So that we should consider that we should take much seriously than just considering carbon dioxide. Therefore, in this study is very significant for the policymakers to do much better policy decisions, to make much better policy decisions. And also we should promote eco-friendly products or consumption of eco-friendly products and consumption of eco-friendly energy sources for the economic development or the production, gross domestic production. Therefore, those are conclusions. And if there is something to not clarified areas, please raise your questions, then we can explain it much better. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the conclusion as well, right? Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Nur Rashida and Dr. Ishan from Sri Lanka. Okay, is there any question from the floor or from online? There's no question. I have one question here, which is looking at your general model there. So basically, the environment you're looking at greenhouse gas emission, but the other variable, they're quite straightforward. Except I'd like to know the technology achievement index. So this is something that has a strong effect from your study here on the greenhouse gas emissions. So what is this index? What are the components of the index and how you measure it?
Okay, you can move the slide to the model. Okay. So yeah, maybe you can list on the TAI.
Yes, technology advancement index. Actually, it's an index that we can calculated by using eight parameters. For example, we use patent applications by the residents. Then we use a use of internet users, telephone subscription. And then we use human capital of the country that involved in science area. And there are actually 8 parameters that we use to calculate technology achievement index. And basically those 8 parameters we divide into, we reclustered into 4 as core factors. That's a human development, then technological, it means innovation side. And then we move to discuss the use of what is called electricity and telephone subscribers likewise. So this is actually, in summary, we can say this is actually using 8 parameters to calculate this achievement index. And we use those 8 parameters to calculate how countries make their technology advancements and what is the level of technology advancements in each country that we considered in our sample. I think you got an idea, sir.
So this is like technology in general, like internet use. So it's not technology that used to offset greenhouse emissions. Okay, thank you. Okay, other questions? Okay, those online, if you have any questions. I think there's one. Chong Kim Min. Do you raise your hand?
I didn't raise the hand.
I see hand up there. Chong, you have a question? No. Okay. So there's no question. Thank you very much, Dr. Norashida, for your presentation, and also Dr. Ishan from Sri Lanka. Okay. Thank you. Okay, now we go for the next presenter, technologist Dr. Rajeswari, Raju. Right? You here? Okay.
Good day to everyone. Over here, face to face and also online persona. Right. So my name is Rajeswari. So basically, I'm going to present with my co-author here, Mr. Rubaya. Can you? Yeah, there.
Hello.
All right. So basically, we are four of us. Me, Rajeswari, and then Prof. Kita, and then we also have Prof. Jayalakshmi and Mr. Rubaya from Curtin University, Australia, and Jayalakshmi from Nottingham, and Prof. Kita from SEGI, and me, myself, from UITF. So we are four different organizations. All right. So basically today, I'm going to talk about a flexi work app. Yeah? Let me put this right. Okay. So basically, it's about flexi work app, an innovative way to measure and monitor productivity while work from home for academicians. Like today, I'm here. You know? So I'm here in my conference. I'm going to take my phone. I'm going to click here. I'm at conference, giving a staff a rating, a star, to say that I'm working. You know, so because basically us, we work 24/7. We normally, have a student calling us. We have examinations, 2 marks. We have our thesis, 2 marks, everything. So end of the day, we do a lot of things. When it comes to reporting, when it comes to putting our reporting, we forget where did we do what, and then that makes our yearly evaluation become lesser. So this kind of product app, so you are carrying with you a mobile phone. Nowadays, everybody having a smartphone. It's very easy and very efficient. So you will click there to say, okay, I'm here. It's just going to take you, very less than a minute work. You're doing a cumulative. You're going to be, end of the day, you have your documentation ready. End of the day. So that's what we are trying to get in. So basically, this project was funded by FRJS 2019, before COVID. We are talking about flexi working from home. Then suddenly COVID came in, give us a way, and now today everybody is doing online, face-to-face, like how we are having our conference today. I'm here, my co-partner here there in Australia. We are here doing our work together. So basically, our idea was there in 2019. We got the grant, was now granted to us in 2019 when we are talking about flexible working. We are talking about productivity, measurement for well-being, social well-being, was okay granted. And then COVID itself gave us a space. Government itself amended, tremendous act, which is supposed to come in place in September, but little bit movement. So going to come in place in January, we hope so. Academician, So basically, that's how it goes. Right. So going into my title, to study background first. A survey was done in Malaysia. Yeah, every 2 years once we will have a survey on stress, health, mental health management. All this will happen. The recent survey was in 2021. So I'm quoting here a couple of it. I'm taking in 2016, 2019, 2021, just to show you that we are actually looking into it very seriously. Our government, our organization are looking into it. So depression among academic staff in higher institutions is 3 times higher than the local population itself. He stated that in 2016, 35.4%. And then another survey by our Ministry of Health Malaysia in 2019 shows that depression percentage in Malaysia will rise around 8% to 12%. Definitely every year there'll be. And a recent survey in 2021 showed that they took a survey in 116 countries. They say that from the respondent, 43% of the respondent over 1,016 countries experience stress. So basically, it is a worldwide things that are happening around. and when we focus on academician. Sorry. So when we focus on academician, there are some statistics showing that we are higher in depression, 3 times more higher than the normal local population. So basically, we need to do something. So amendment to the Employment Act 1955, supposedly to be coming in 1 September, will be in 1st January 2023. So allowing employees in Malaysia who want to work on a flexible basis to apply for what we call flexible working arrangement, FWA, my grand title actually. So with their respective employers. So basically this is a good news. So when we talk about a flexible working arrangement, so what is flexible working arrangement when we throw this question? So it is actually, you are deciding where to work. No, you have no constraint. You have a balanced lifestyle between personal life and professional life. We want to be good. We want to be excellent in both, especially working mothers like me. I want to be a tremendous mother. At the same time, I want to be, a wonderful career woman. I want to educate the children that are under my wings. I want to do all. I want to be a good wife. I want to be good children. Good doctor for my family. So we want all that, right? But we have to balance it. So this kind of flexible working gives you a balance between your personal life and your professional life. Yeah. So and then you also can decide way of your work, how you want to work. You want to do it on part-time basis, or you want to do it on your job sharing, or you want to make hours. Okay, I will clock in at this time, and then I'm going to clock out, and then I'm going to do my own stuff. Then I'm going to clock in back. This kind of facilities our institution are already giving us now. With COVID, now a lot of apps are coming in. We are clocking in, clock out, no more thumbprints, no more the days already passed. So why this happening? Because of technology advancement. Technology gives us space. So we have to use it professionally. We have to use it so that career women like us, academician, especially women, we can have a flexing life. We can work on our own pace of time. We can work after our children. If we put them to sleep, that time we are free. But my working hours is staggered 8 to 5. No, now I'm not working. So what must I do? This kind of mentality. We want to use that. We want to say that, okay, I can do it.
But you need to move your slide because there's a
Yeah. All right. Then, okay. Next, we are going for the issues and objective of the study. All right. Issues. Academicians burdened with increased workload and long working hours. So this will affect their productivity. Yeah. Objective of this study is, first, a self-monitoring tool in the form of mobile application or app called Flexi Work App. This is a prototype. Basically, because it's a baby product of my big product of my grant. So this is a prototype was used in a pilot study to measure usability, acceptance, and features among the targeted user population. So the FlexiWork app is designed to measure the impact of workplace flexibility on productivity and to monitor your KPI as well. Yeah. So next, to talk about the literature review and the methodology, I would like to pass my baton to my co-author, Surabaya.
Thank you, Dr. Rajachari. It's an honor to actually join this conference from Australia down under. I'm very honored to actually go ahead and contribute to this particular research, and this is an exciting topic. We in Australia and all around the Western world, we have seen the changes that has happened, as Dr. Rajachari was actually talking about. So it has become more important as academics to go ahead and have their freedom to work independently. And Malaysian government, as we can see that from DAME 2021, has come up with the policy, the regulatory framework where they have defined working from home for 12 different categories, like working from home, flexi hours, sessional work, job sharing, modified role, phased retirement, compressed work week, leaving early from work, employees' choice of the day off, shift swapping,
staggered hours and reduced work. This is very interesting, the approach that they have taken, because what we can see that the definition from Hill 2003, back in 2003, shows that they are defining it as working from home is working away from the main office. And this has become very evident over the COVID, and probably this is the new norm today. And this is what we see in Subramaniam's 2021. She's claiming, she and her team are claiming that the new norm globally reduces academic stress in Malaysia. So they have focused their study in Malaysia, and the problem that Dr. Rajeshwari was actually referring to as academics having more stress, probably this COVID period have influenced that positively by having these kind of opportunities of working from home. So as a definition, what we can see that it is indicating that it is towards a work-life balance, and it is probably beginning to have some benefits where we can see different studies like Golden and Vega, Martinez, Sanchez et al., or Tremblay and Janine 2007, that it actually increases the employee's productivity. We also see that Jackson and Franzman 2018 shows that it increases the amount of time an employee is motivated to go ahead and spend for the work hours as a gratitude to have that honor of working from home. As a result, it enables the organizations to retain and attract high-performing workforce, ATICO 2021. So,
sorry, we need to move on because I think the 10 minutes is up.
No, just now they were adjusting that. I start after they adjust, so that.
Yeah, but I need to watch. So you have to move fast to your side.
Yeah.
Okay, you're only 10 minutes.
All right. So fundamentally, what we can see here that we are moving towards a more changed environment, and this is supported by technology. Afrianti, one of the studies by Afrianti, Artatania, and Burgess 2022, a recent study, shows that embracing digital initiatives and access to IT increases the individual productivity. Can we map that? And this study that we have conducted actually aims to go ahead and map the productivity of the individual academics. And we can also see from the same study that the organizations who are supporting with IT capable enablement improves the employees' digital capabilities, and thus in the long run will increase the opportunity for increasing the productivity. Have we seen this in our sample? Dr. Rajeshwari, can you please share the findings and the methodology of the study?
Yes, the methodology, yeah.
Yep. So what we have done is that we have done a quantitative survey, understanding the perception about this mobile application. And we did a purposive sampling. 75 respondents filled the survey form, which was sent through via the Google Forms. And we used for these perceptions a 5-point Likert scale to measure the usefulness and the user friendliness of the app. All right, so I think we can actually go towards the results of this study, Dr. Rajeshwari.
Okay. So as for the result, the findings, so we feel like we have deliver the questionnaire, and then as for the usefulness of the Flexi app, the majority of the respondents agreed that app is user friendly. About 60 respondents agreed that flexible app is user friendly and easy to access. And as for flexibility and productivity, a survey question was sent out. Nearly 75% of the academics have flexible working arrangement at their university. That's what they replied. And only a very less percent, 5% say that they don't have flexibility in their workplace. As for performance and KPI monitor, most of the respondents either agreed that the Flexi Work app is useful to help them to remind their performance and KPIs. So these are the graphs showing the results. So as for the these are our prototype. So basically, the Flexi Work app, there are 3 subsections. The first section is to record all the teaching and supervising information. And this is the first login page, app login page. And then after you log in, then it will go to the this productivity page. And then you can choose to enter your teaching and supervising information. Next to the collaborative and administrative works. And finally to the contextual performance. And then you can log out, and then it will be a confirmation page for log out, just for error detections. And then user contact form in case you have any problems. So this is about discussion about our app. So the app will be Rubaya.
All right. Do you want to do that, Dr. Richard?
Yeah,
Yep, the discussion. All right, so fundamentally, the FlexiWork app has actually been designed to capture to be the trendsetter for a new revolution in measuring the performance and productivity within Malaysia. So it has been customized for this market. We are trying to inspire to achieve more KPI or beyond. So what we are trying to do here is setting their own targets, and they can improve on their specific achievements. It is allowing the users to record and monitor their monthly work achievements. As a result, we are serving as an information repository for the users' monthly work achievements. So it's like working towards a reward system. People can set their goals, and they can actually, when they achieve it, they can actually set their own new goals to achieve better performance. It helps the employees to input information regarding various tasks and targets, including teaching, research, administration. So it is not only covering one area, it is covering research, it is covering the teaching loads and the administrative roles. So they can actually reorganize, redistribute their tasks as and when wanted. It is also assisting in highlighting the areas of improvement. Somebody may be needing to go ahead and get some teaching methodological help. So if they are lagging on that, but those skills, they can improve on those skills and target their shortcomings. It provides monthly data to the university. As a result, from the university's perspective, they can measure the productivity of their staff, and it can benefit to monitor the employees' activity while allowing the employees to enjoy their flexible work environment. So we are hoping for a very good outcome by applying or implementing this app in other institutions. Maybe there are opportunities to further research on this area.
Okay, thank you. So as for the impact, the FlexiWork app will allow users to record the monthly and monitor their works and achievements. So the novelty of the research is the FlexiWork app will be trendsetter for new revolution in monitoring and measuring academic productivity in Malaysia. So future research may explore this area to help academics lead a better work-life balance, to reduce stress level, and resulting in a higher productivity and happiness. I hope this app can help our future academicians. Thank you. So that's all from us.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Rajaswati, and also Dr. Rubayat from University. Dr. Rajaswari from UITM. Sha'lam. Terengganu. Okay. Okay, now I open to the floor for any questions regarding this app. So this app here is, so It has not been used yet.
No, not yet. But we have sent for copyright, for the copyright. So they already accept for the copyright. So that's why we can't publish all the information internally. Because if it's a copyright, we publish all that and it can't be copyrighted. Okay. So that's the reasons that I can't, show the internal portion of it.
And it's under FRJS?
Yes, it's under FRJS.
Okay, so with this one, like when you have the flexi work, then perhaps the apps can be used.
Yes, for flexi work. So you can key in your productivity information. You can key in about whether you are attending a conference, you are marking a thesis. So you have stars, you can give yourself a rating, a stars, and also a column for you to fill in. So you'll be recorded.
Nice. Okay. Any questions about the apps? Because you may be using the apps in the future. Okay, but I'm sure like when if the university decides to use it, then they're going to test it first, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Is there anybody on the line who wants to ask a question? So there's no question. Okay, thank you very much for your
attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one, Dr. Azrina.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good afternoon. So to all, to Prof. J, Prof. Masran, and to all the audience. My name is Nora Azrina Umar Yusof, and my teammates Rashida Satuin, Lee Shaituan, and Santi Nobita from University of Erlangga. Okay, we are from UITM Kedah. So today I would like to share with you in our part of research titled Incorporating Tax Education into Non-Accounting Curriculum, a Malaysian and Indonesian study. Okay, as an introduction, when we say about tax, I believe that nobody likes to pay tax because we feel burdened because we need to pay some part of our hard-earned money. Okay, so due to that, many tax administrations around the world face similar issues with tax non-compliance. What is meant by tax non-compliance is it is like failure to comply with tax rules and regulations, such as failure to declare report income, and failure to pay income tax within time frame. Okay, due to that, because of the tax non-compliance, it will lead to tax revenue leakage. Okay, so because of that, most countries adopted self-assessment system, or we call as SAS. The objective of SAS actually is to minimize tax collection rates, to enhance compliance rates, and to minimize tax collection costs. For example, Indonesia was the earliest developing country adopted SAS in 1984. Meanwhile, our country, Malaysia, adopted SAS in 2001 for corporate taxpayers and 2004 for individual taxpayers. Okay. However, as claimed by the most recent study by AMER Event 2022, they claim that the objective of SAS doesn't come to reality. Why? Because based on the Organization Economic Cooperation and Development Report 2020, Indonesia was ranked first as having a low tax ratio. Meanwhile, our country, Malaysia, was ranked fourth as having a low tax ratio. We cannot deny that the reason for having a low tax ratio, perhaps because of the complexity of the tax law, and maybe because of the knowledge. People want to comply, but they don't have knowledge about tax. Okay, so past studies claim that tax education can influence taxpayer compliance. However, nearly 3 decades, the call from Bajoyan 1992 and Ho 1992 to incorporate tax education at the university level has gone unheeded. Until now, to the best of our knowledge, we don't think that there is any university and college offer tax courses to non-accounting students, either as compulsory or an elective subject. Okay, so our research objective, we have two. First, to examine whether Malaysian and Indonesian college and universities need to incorporate tax education formally in all fields of study at the university level. And second, to assess general tax knowledge among both Malaysian and Indonesian academicians. So as literature review, tax subject in Malaysia only taught to accounting and business management undergraduate students at Malaysian higher learning institutions. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, tax education in university is part of the curriculum in some of faculties, normally actually same for the business management. And past studies found that tax knowledge affects taxpayers' compliance. So for the methodology, we use convenient sampling method by distributing a survey, online survey. So I believe some of you might become our respondents. And for Indonesia, the sample is 306 based on the Krejci table. And we survey the UNITE, means University of Erlangga, UNITE academicians, but we exclude the economy and business faculties academicians. And we received 127 respondents. Meanwhile, for Malaysia, the sample is 367 non-accounting academicians from the entire UiTM system. And we received 349 respondents. Just to share, the highest faculty response to our survey is the Faculty of Health and Science. Thank you very much to the Faculty of Health and Science. Yeah. And for the survey, we have three sections. Section A is the demographic, B is the significance of incorporating tax education into all fields, and section C is general knowledge about tax and one tax compliance scenario. So these are the findings and discussions. For the table 1, as we can see the respondents profile. So for both UiTM and U9 respondents, majority the respondents were female, which is 72.2% for UiTM and 61.4% from UNITE. And with regard to the age, majority of the respondents were aged between 31 to 40 years old. And with regard to the marital status, majority of the respondents from either from UiTM and UNITE were married. And with regard to the education, majority of the respondents do have master's degree. And with regard to the working experience, majority of the respondents, for example, in UiTM and UNITE, they have more than 15 years working experience. So I believe that all of the respondents do have some experience in filing income tax. Okay, so for the first finding, to answer research objective number 1, to examine whether Malaysian and Indonesian colleges and universities need to incorporate tax education formally in all fields of study. Okay, so table 2 shows the answer. We asked the respondent the level of the agreement, agree or not, whether to introduce tax subject to all faculties, second, as an elective course at their faculty, and third, as a compulsory course at their faculty. So as you can see, both respondents from UiTM and UNITE hold a comparable view. Especially for the second statement, both of the respondents agree that that subject should be introduced as an elective course at their faculty. I believe that perhaps because these respondents do have some experience or bad experience when filing income tax, they feel difficulty in filing income tax. Okay, and then next, both respondents also disagree that tax subject should be introduced as compulsory course, because we believe that perhaps they already have many subjects to learn. Okay. And with regard to table 3, benefit of learning tax education, we asked 3 segments. So the highest means goes to this segment, whereby the benefit of learning tax education, both respondents agreed that learning tax makes them understand what tax do for the community. Okay. And next, we asked the respondent the most suitable level to introduce tax education. So based on the figure 1, we can see that majority of the respondents from UiTM and UNITE choose university level is the most suitable level to introduce. This is because past study claimed that university level is more suitable because at that time students are become matured and they easy to understand tax administration. And this is the second findings for research objective 2, to assess general tax knowledge among both Malaysian and Indonesian academicians. So we adapt 6 statements from Morgan and Castelling 2018. So there are 6 statements. So as we can see, most respondents respond good and very good. And the response were dominant in all across the field. for both UiTM and Unite. And the three segments, we can say that they have a good knowledge about purpose of taxation in society, general understanding of taxation responsibilities, and where to obtain assistance regarding the taxation responsibilities. Overall, we can conclude that respondents from both Unite and Malaysian do have a good understanding for general tax knowledge. Okay, and lastly, to further issue about tax knowledge, we also ask them, assume that you have a permanent job as a computer programmer in ABC's neighborhood. You also work as a freelancer to help your friend in developing a computer software and earn 20,000 for the tax period. You know that your friend did not report your details to the tax authority. So, will you report the 20,000 income to the tax authority? Okay. So this case scenario was adopted from Wong and Law 2015. Based on the figure 2, we can see that from respondents from UiTM, 70.8% answered yes, means that they will report to the IRB, the Inland Revenue Board. But only 35.4% from the respondents from Unite said that they will report. There are another 64.6% said that, answer no. Okay, I'm not sure whether do they really know about the income 20,000 that is liable to tax, means we need to pay income tax for that. Or do they really have intention to commit tax, means they don't want to report the income. So this is something that may be related to the tax knowledge. Maybe they don't. Maybe the taxpayer, they want to comply with tax, but they don't have the knowledge. Okay. And as a conclusion, tax education should be adequately planned and taught in higher learning institutions, and the findings provide insights to both Malaysian and Indonesian tax authorities, as well as the Ministry of Higher Education. So just to share, maybe all of you know that now, starting 2020, Ministry of Education already introducing tax subject into Form 5 curriculum in mathematics subject. Okay, and for the limitation, this study employed a convenient sample strategy, and this study only focused on tax education, general knowledge, and a simple tax compliance scenario. And as a recommendation, we propose to further study maybe can employ qualitative method and include more samples from various public and private universities. With that, I end my presentation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azrina. Okay, open for Q&A. Yes.
Thank you, Roger, for your presentation. I think it's quite interesting. Thanks. We have quite bias with regard to this subject matter. But looking at tax is something that we can enforce in the sense that we are not paying it voluntarily. So we being enforced. Obviously, that may be the last findings of your study with regard to the whether the person willing to report or not, the gap of 20,000 just now. I think that's what is being shown in that manner. It's just that is would you see in the future have that in case of tax reporting, instead of just enforcing the taxpayer to pay the relevant taxes, maybe in terms of disclosure or reporting, the government must show where does the money being spent. It's just like what the Pusat Zakat, for example, shows, this is the contribution from the zakat payer and this is where the money is being spent. I would say that maybe IRB needs to go that direction. So what's your opinion on that?
Okay, as academic, thank you, Doctor, for your question. As a academician, I agree with your suggestion. When it comes to the taxation, everyone not willing to pay tax because we don't see where the money is going. But As myself, because I received a scholarship from UiTM, so I know that the scholarship comes from the ministry, from the government, and the government got the money from we as a taxpayer. So for the next, maybe for the future, maybe I think another studies, or maybe we can apply the FRGS grant to study to get the opinions from others academicians, like doctors recommend just now. So for me, it's a very, very good actually, because we would like to know where the money is going. Because it influences us, like Dr. Shahril presented just now, the perception of fairness. We don't know where the money is going sometimes. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Okay, another one. You can scream or can you?
Thank you. I have a question. Out of my curiosity, because you proposed tax education as a course to be implemented or introduced at the university level. So what will be the coverage as a whole for us to introduce this as a course? Because we do have tax education in our faculty, and it is only embedded in one of our chapters in a course instead of a course. So what will be the coverage, the overall coverage you intend to produce from this course? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for your question. So for the coverage, actually, part of the study also, we do survey the opinions from the respondents. What are the topics that they're interested to learn? And because I don't show the findings here because of the limitation, slight limitation. So the finding shows that some respondents, they would like to know about personal taxation, especially because we pay income tax every year. And some of respondents also, they would like to know about real property gains tax. But for me, as academician and as individual taxpayer, at the first stage, I believe that the most suitable topic is basic knowledge about tax and also personal taxation, so that we could understand how to plan our tax. For example, we know that the budget, for example, for lifestyle relief, we have 2,500, and during pandemic, government add another 2,500. So as when we learn taxation, we know that we can deduct from our chargeable income that entitled to pay tax, we can deduct up to 5,000. So when we know that, so we buy laptop so that we can deduct from that chargeable income. So I believe basic knowledge about tax, personal taxation, some sort of about tax planning, individual tax planning. And maybe when it comes to middle level, we can add some sort like real property gains tax, because everybody involved in selling and buying the real property. Am I answered?
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Azina. Okay, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And I think that after this one is keynote speech by Prof. Fatima, but I think we shall wait for them from another room. Okay, with that, I thank you everyone for your attendance and participation for this evening's session. Okay. Assalamualaikum.